Dear subscribers and channel members, my name is Paul. Before we start with this topic, we want to express our deepest gratitude to each and every one of you for your unwavering support. Your generosity has been the heartbeat of this channel, and we can continue creating and growing together because of you. A special welcome to all our new subscribers. Over 300 new members joined us in the last 30 days, and we are beyond thrilled to have you with us. We hope to be a positive and meaningful presence in your lives. Your support drives us forward, and it means the world to know that we are making a difference. Please remember that you are in our thoughts and prayers, and the Creator deeply values you. As a token of appreciation, we're excited to announce the launch of a brand new store. Click the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description, and you'll find a symbol link to the new store on your left, complete with fresh designs that we hope you'll love. Thank you once again for your continued support. You are exceptional, and we couldn't do this without you. All our gratitude to you, dear friends. And with that being said, let's continue with Brother Michael's study.
Today I want to discuss the chosen woman and how you can become one. There is a profound mystery surrounding those whom God has chosen. His call is not like the world's call, but a quiet whisper only their spirit can hear. A woman chosen by God is far from ordinary. Her steps are uniquely guided. She doesn't blend in with the crowd. She stands out. Because of this, she often walks alone. She is set apart, called to a divine purpose that others may not understand. Her journey is different, and she carries a calling that can be hard for others to see. It's not that she is forgotten. It's that God has chosen her from the very start. God often calls those he chooses to separate them from the familiar, from the crowds, and into a place of solitude where he can refine them for the purpose he has placed within them. The Bible shows us this pattern. Abraham was called to leave his land, his family, and everything he knew, because sometimes those closest to us cannot go where God is leading. A chosen woman understands this. She knows that to walk with God, there will be times when she must stand alone, when she won't be understood, and when obedience will require sacrifice and discomfort. A chosen woman doesn't conform to the world. Her path is set apart, and while that can feel like rejection, it's actually God's protection. Think of Noah, a righteous man in a corrupt generation who built the ark when no one else understood. He obeyed God when everyone else was doing their own thing. God separated him because of his purpose, and the same is true for a woman chosen by God. She might feel out of place, like her path is different, but that's because she's called to build something new. Throughout Scripture, we see that those whom God calls are set apart. Esther was taken from her home and placed in the king's palace, away from all she knew, because God was positioning her for something greater. Ruth left her past behind, stepping into an uncertain future, not realizing her obedience was aligning her with her destiny. Mary, the mother of Jesus, carried something divine that no one around her could comprehend. She was chosen, and that calling brought loneliness, but it also brought her closer to God. A chosen woman often walks alone because the weight of her calling is too much for many to bear. This solitude is not a punishment, it's preparation. When God sets a woman apart, he does so to reveal himself to her in ways others may not see. It's in the secret moments, in times of isolation, that he speaks the loudest. Just like Moses, who received the commandments alone on the mountain, a chosen woman must walk alone at times to receive what God has for her. She doesn't chase after people's approval because she knows her affirmation comes from God alone. She knows not everyone will celebrate her calling or understand her journey, but she keeps walking. In silence, she is strengthened. In solitude, she is refined. And in loneliness, she draws closer to God, understanding that he walks with her. The one who called her is with her every step of the way. The weight of her calling isn't just a burden, it's an honor. Many desire the blessings of being chosen, but few are willing to bear the responsibility that comes with it. A chosen woman is given a purpose that requires her to live differently, to think differently, and to walk a path others might not understand. It may not be easy. Like Moses, she may feel unqualified. But God doesn't call the able, he calls the willing. A chosen woman must understand that her strength is not her own, but comes from God, who equips her for the task ahead. She will face struggles, betrayals, and misunderstandings. But these hardships are not meant to break her. They are meant to shape her. The weight of her calling requires endurance, as we see with David, who was anointed to be king, but had to endure years of trials before stepping into his purpose. In the same way, a chosen woman will face waiting seasons, times of testing, and moments where it feels like nothing is moving. But God is working in the background, preparing her for what lies ahead. The process of preparation isn't easy. It requires letting go of relationships that no longer serve her, stepping away from places that hold her back, and trusting God even when she can't see the whole picture. But she knows that what she's walking into is greater than anything she has to leave behind. She doesn't seek temporary validation from the world because she knows her identity is rooted in God. She doesn't give up no matter how weary she becomes because she knows the one who called her is faithful. The season of isolation isn't punishment, it's transformation. God is refining her, teaching her to depend on him and see herself as he sees her. Even Jesus experienced isolation before stepping into his purpose. His time in the wilderness was a moment of testing, a preparation for what was to come. A chosen woman must understand that her time in solitude is not abandonment, but preparation for a greater purpose. Spiritual warfare often accompanies a chosen woman's journey. The enemy sees her as a threat because she carries something of great value, the purpose of God. The attacks are not because she is weak, but because she is powerful. Just as Pharaoh tried to destroy the Hebrew baby boys when he saw Moses was a deliverer, the enemy attacks those who are destined for greatness. The chosen woman will face battles that others don't, but these struggles are not to break her, they are to strengthen her. She must stand firm in God's truth and not let the enemy's lies take root. The Bible tells us that when Jesus was tempted in the wilderness, he overcame by standing firm in God's word. A chosen woman must do the same. When attacks come, she must remind herself of her identity in Christ. She is never truly alone, even in her darkest moments. Sometimes she will face opposition from people who don't understand her calling or criticize her choices. But she must keep her focus on God. Just like Nehemiah, who faced ridicule while rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem, a chosen woman must remain unwavering in her commitment to the task God has given her. She cannot let the opinions of others sway her. A chosen woman's path may be narrow and complex, but she walks confidently, knowing her obedience will yield a greater reward. Her calling isn't about fitting in or following the crowd. It's about standing apart and being faithful to God's plan, no matter the cost. The road will sometimes be lonely, but she is never truly alone. God is with her, guiding her every step. The cost of obedience is real. There will be moments when she must say no to the things others say yes to, when she must choose the narrow road over the wide one. But she knows that what she sacrifices for God will never compare to what he has prepared for her. The journey may be difficult, but the reward of walking in God's purpose is always worth it. A chosen woman's journey isn't easy, but it's purposeful. She faces spiritual battles, opposition, and times of isolation, but through it all, she is being prepared for something greater. Her calling is divine, and her obedience will shape her into the woman God has called her to be. Though the road may be challenging, the one who has called her will faithfully complete the work he has begun in her life. In the eyes of the Creator, a faithful woman is steadfast and unwavering in her trust and obedience to God's call. She is like Sarah, who, though she waited many years for the promise of a child, trusting in God's timing and his plan. Sarah's faithfulness was not in the absence of doubt or difficulty, but in her willingness to remain faithful despite the long wait. She is like Deborah, a prophetess and a judge who led Israel with courage and wisdom when the people were desperate for direction. Deborah's faithfulness was evident in her ability to step into leadership, trusting God to equip her for a task that others might have found overwhelming. She demonstrated that faithfulness is not passive, it is active and bold. She is like Esther, who stood in the gap for her people, not knowing the outcome but trusting that God had placed her in the palace for such a time as this. Her faithfulness was reflected in her willingness to risk her life for the salvation of others, putting the needs of God's people before her safety and comfort. She is like Ruth, who, in her sorrow and uncertainty, chose faithfulness to her mother-in-law Naomi, even when she had no guarantees about her future. Ruth's decision to remain loyal in a time of loss revealed a deep commitment to the God of Israel, and in doing so, she became part of the lineage of Christ. She is like Mary, the mother of Jesus, who accepted the call to carry a divine child despite the social stigma and personal cost. Even in the face of uncertainty and fear, Mary's unwavering faith exemplifies a woman who trusted the Creator completely, saying, "Let it be unto me according to your word." Though from different times and places, these women share one thing in common. They were chosen and set apart by God for a purpose that transcended their understanding. In the eyes of the Creator, their faithfulness reflected their trust in His will, even when the road was difficult, the future uncertain, and the cost high. A faithful woman walks with God, knowing that His plans for her are far greater than her own. She understands that her journey is not just about her, but about fulfilling the purpose God has set before her. She carries the legacy of these great women of faith, living her life in a way that honors the Creator, and trusting that every step is guided by His hand. A faithful woman, in the eyes of the Creator, is one who is steadfast, unwavering in her trust and obedience to God's call. She is like Sarah, who, though she waited many years for the promise of a child, trusted in God's timing and His plan. Sarah's faithfulness was not in the absence of doubt or difficulty, but in her willingness to remain faithful despite the long wait. She is like Deborah, a prophetess and a judge, who led Israel with courage and wisdom in a time when the people were desperate for direction. Deborah's faithfulness was evident in her ability to step into leadership, trusting God to equip her for a task that others might have found overwhelming. She demonstrated that faithfulness is not passive, it is active and bold. She is like Esther, who stood in the gap for her people, not knowing the outcome but trusting that God had placed her in the palace for such a time as this. Her faithfulness was reflected in her willingness to risk her life for the salvation of others, putting the needs of God's people before her own safety and comfort. Like Esther, women today can please God by being courageous in the face of challenges, trusting in His purpose for their lives, and stepping out in faith when called to act, even when the outcome is uncertain. She is like Ruth, who, in her sorrow and uncertainty, chose faithfulness to her mother-in-law Naomi, even when she had no guarantees about her future. Ruth's decision to remain loyal in a time of loss revealed a deep commitment to the God of Israel, and in doing so, she became part of the lineage of Christ. She is like Mary, the mother of Jesus, who accepted the call to carry a divine child despite the social stigma and personal cost. Mary's unwavering faith, even in the face of uncertainty and fear, exemplifies a woman who trusted the Creator completely, saying, "Let it be unto me according to your word." These women, though from different times and places, share one thing in common. They were chosen and set apart by God for a purpose that transcended their own understanding. In the eyes of the Creator, their faithfulness was a reflection of their trust in His will, even when the road was difficult, the future uncertain, and the cost high. To the women in the audience today, just as these biblical women lived lives that honored God, you too can walk in faithfulness and please God. You can be like Esther, who, when faced with the impossible, chose to trust in God's timing and His plan for her life. Esther was not just a queen. She was a woman of boldness, wisdom, and unwavering faith in God. Like Esther, you can trust that God has placed you in your current position for such a time as this, whether that's in your family, your community, or your career. To be like Esther, you can, 1, embrace your purpose, understand that you are where you are for a reason. Like Esther, recognize the significance of the season and place God has called you to. You can use your influence to bring about change and help those in need, just as Esther did for the Jewish people. 2, be courageous. Esther took a bold step in approaching the king without being summoned, knowing that she risked her life. In your life, courage looks like stepping out in faith, even when it's uncomfortable, and trusting that God will equip you for the task. 3, pray and seek God. Before Esther made any decisions, she called for a time of prayer and fasting. Take time to seek God's guidance and wisdom in all that you do, and trust that He will direct your steps. 4, act with wisdom. Esther did not act impulsively. She carefully planned and waited for the right moment. Like her, you can seek God's wisdom in all things and take actions that align with His will. All 5, stand for what's right. Just as Esther stood up for her people, stand firm in your faith and take a stand for what is just and proper, even when it's unpopular. A faithful woman walks with God, knowing that His plans for her are far greater than her own. She understands that her journey is not just about her, but about fulfilling the purpose that God has set before her. She carries the legacy of these great women of faith, living in a way that honors the Creator and trusting that every step is guided by His hand. As you reflect on these incredible women of faith, remember that God has chosen you for a unique purpose in this time and place. Like Sarah, Deborah, Esther, Ruth, and Mary, You are part of a legacy of women who trusted God and walked in faith no matter their challenges. And just like Esther, you are where you are for such a time as this. You have been placed in your family, community, and world for a reason. God sees your heart, struggles, and dreams and is ready to use you in mighty ways. You don't need to have it all figured out, but you need to trust Him in the journey. So, my dear sister, let your life reflect the courage of Esther, the wisdom of Deborah, the faithfulness of Ruth, and the unwavering trust of Mary. Stand firm in your faith, embrace your purpose, and trust that God will equip you for the task ahead. You are loved and chosen, and the Creator empowers you to make a difference. So go forward with courage and confidence, knowing that God is with you every step of the way. Be a woman who pleases God, just as He is pleased with the faithful women of the Bible. You are His masterpiece, created for a time like this. Don't let anyone stop you.